Welcome to the Unraveling Achiever, the podcast for the person who's done everything right and is now questioning what that even means. I'm Angela McKay, former SVP of HR turned intuitive career coach and soul reading practitioner. I help accomplished folks like you to stop defaulting to what looks good and start building what feels true. Because you don't have to turn your life upside down. You just need to point your achiever energy toward a soul-led career and life you'll love. Every episode, I tune into the energy of what's showing up for my clients and community and share what needs to be heard. No bypassing the mess, just honest guidance for the unraveling that changes everything. Let's get into it. A quick reminder before we dive in, I've been taking listener questions and doing readings on the show. If you have something on your heart and mind about your career, your purpose, your life direction, what's calling you forward, submit it. Your name stays private. Only your question gets read. The link is in the show notes, and let's get into today's topic. So today's episode is about that uncomfortable place you land when you're not sure if it's a yes or a no. You want to make the right decision. You don't want to betray yourself, but you're standing there looking at this thing in front of you, not totally sure which direction is right, and it's causing you to stall. Do you want it because it looks good? Because it sounds good when you say it out loud? Or because it's actually right for you? And on the flip side, are you leaning toward no because it's genuinely not right for you? Or are you just scared to try? That's the fog we're stepping into today. This isn't about the decisions where you already know the answer and you're just avoiding it. I'm talking about the ones where you honestly, truly don't know yet. You can state a case for either direction, where your mind goes back and forth. I received 3 messages for this topic, and in the time between receiving the messages and recording the show, I tried the guidance for myself. I put the messages to use for a decision I'm in the middle of right now, and I'll come back to that after giving the messages to you. So here are the 3 messages that came through. The first message is about pace, and it's asking you to look at 2 different ways this not sure feeling shows up for people. There's the rush and the freeze. So for the rush, some of you, when you hit that uncertain place, you rush. You want the discomfort of not knowing to be over so badly that you just pick something. You talk yourself into a yes because a decision, any decision, feels better than sitting in the unknown. And then 2 weeks later, you're wondering why it doesn't feel right. In that case, your decision ended up being an escape from discomfort. Another reason you might rush is because you feel a sense of urgency from outside of you. Someone or something needs an answer or needs your certainty, so you provide it. This one is a big trap for me. It took me a while, but I've learned that making important decisions too quickly leads me into a state of misalignment so often. Hardly anything is that urgent. I'm better off to let my emotions ride their waves until I arrive to a place that feels more like neutrality, and then from that place, making my decision. And then there's the other version of this, the freeze. Some of you go the opposite direction. You spin, you research, you ask 10 people for their opinion, you make the pros and cons list, and then you make another one. You gather so much information that you bury the answer under all of it. You're not deciding, you're stalling and calling it due diligence. Before you can answer yes or no, get honest about which one of these you're doing, the rush or the freeze. Are you rushing to escape the discomfort, dishing out certainty based on perceived urgency, or are you stalling? And underneath all of those is the same missing piece, clarity on what matters to you here. Not what matters to people watching you make this decision, not what looks responsible or exciting or safe, what actually matters to you specifically in this choice. So here's what you can do. Before you decide anything, write down what you value in this situation. Not what you think you should value, but what you do value in this decision that you're making. Is it freedom, stability, growth, connection, integrity, responsibility. Get specific because you can't sort a real yes from a panicked yes or a real no from a scared no until you know what you're measuring it against. The second message is one to really sit with because it might reframe this whole thing for you. Sometimes when we're stuck between yes and no, we think the tension is between us and the decision, like the decision itself is the problem. But a lot of the time, the real tension is happening inside of us. It's a conflict between two parts of ourselves. There's a part of you that wants to prove something. Maybe prove you're brave enough to try it, or prove you're wise enough to walk away. There's a part of you that doesn't want to be wrong, that doesn't want to look back in a year and think, I should have known better. And there's a part of you still carrying weight from a past decision, one that didn't go the way you hoped, and now you're bringing that old bruise or that old wound into this brand new choice. None of those parts are actually about this decision. They're about old stuff, old fears, old attempts to protect yourself. And as long as those parts are wrestling with each other, you're never going to hear a clean, clear, confident answer. You're just going to hear whichever voice is loudest that day. You have to let go of needing this decision to prove anything. You don't need this yes to prove you're brave. You don't need this no to prove you're wise. You just need it to be true for you right now with what you know. Let your yes or your no make sense for you and your life. Don't cater to fear or to ego here. Let it be for your highest self. You can ask yourself, what am I trying to prove with this decision? And who am I trying to prove it to? Sometimes just naming this is enough to loosen the grip, because once you stop trying to win an old argument with yourself or prove something, you can finally hear what you think now in your present moment as you. The third message is an encouraging piece underneath everything we just talked about. You have more inner steadiness than you're giving yourself credit for right now. This uncertain, foggy feeling, it doesn't mean you're incapable of making a good decision. It just means you are in the middle of the process. And the middle of the process is supposed to feel unclear. That's not a red flag. It's simply where you are. Once you've slowed your pace and untangled the old stuff from message 2, what's left is a quieter, steadier version of you. And that version already knows more than the panicked version does. You don't need to force this. You need patience, and you need to trust that the answer will become clear as you keep showing up honestly. There's a version of you underneath all the noise, underneath the rushing and the old fears and the need to be right, that already has a sense of this. Not a loud, dramatic certainty, just a quiet lean, a slight pull toward one direction when you get still enough to notice it. And then the recognition that with your answer, your action step is next. So here's the last piece. Once you've done the work from the first 2 messages, gotten clear on what you value and untangled what you're trying to prove, sit somewhere quiet for a few minutes. Ask yourself the question plainly, yes or no? And notice the very first quiet response that shows up before your brain has time to argue with it. That first quiet lean is usually your answer. Trust it enough to at least take the next small step toward it. And if that doesn't help, try asking the question plainly out loud and answering yourself out loud. When you answer with the yes, what emotions do you notice and what sensations do you feel? Then answer with no and see what emotions you notice and what sensations you feel. Let the data you find inform you. And then, again, trust it enough to take the next small step toward your decision. So here's what we covered today through those messages. First, slow down or speed up depending on which one you need. Notice whether you're rushing to escape discomfort or stalling to avoid a real answer, and get clear on what you value in this decision before you try to make it. Second, the real conflict might not be between you and the decision. It might be between old parts of you, the part that wants to prove something, the part that doesn't want to be wrong, the part still carrying an old disappointment. Let go of needing this decision to prove anything, and you'll hear yourself more clearly. Third, you already have more steadiness in you than this foggy feeling is letting you believe. Once you've done the first two pieces, get quiet, ask the question plainly, and notice the very first quiet response. That's usually the truth underneath all the noise. You don't have to force this decision. You just have to get quiet enough and honest enough to hear what you already know underneath all of the noise. All right, at the beginning of the show, I mentioned that I used these messages for myself before recording them for you. They helped me to start pulling my decision apart, which helped me feel more in control and clear. I noted my values in relation to my decision. I noticed the traps where I might be trying to prove myself rather than align with myself. And I let myself sit with the yes and the no to literally feel emotions and body sensations about the decision. My determination? Neither yes nor no. Instead, maybe so. It became clear that this isn't a yes or no yet. I need a bit more information, and thankfully, this is a decision where I can actually get it. So my next step is to reach out and schedule a call to gain that information. And depending on what I learn, I already have my list of what I'll need to hear to make it a yes and what would make it a no. I'm clear on what each one looks like, and I'm just one step away from my answer. Okay. As a reminder, if you have a question about your career, your life direction, a decision you're sitting with right now, submit it for the show. Your name stays private, and I'd genuinely love to help you work through it on the show. Again, the link is in the show notes. And if what you heard today resonated, I'd love to support you in going deeper. Soul Reading is a 75-minute one-on-one session where I open your Akashic records, which are like the library of you, and help you reconnect with what your soul already knows about your path, your purpose, and what's next. You can learn more and book at angelamckayllc.com/soul-reading. And if this episode landed for you, subscribe or follow so you don't miss what's coming next. New episodes drop on Wednesdays. Thanks for being here. And until next time, take care.